5:30, we'll get started. Call the meeting to order. First item is approval of the agenda. Anyone have any additions or corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Next item is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Any corrections or additions?
I changed Cat to Miss Cat Perry.
Thank
Mrs., not Mr., I'm sorry.
I did catch that.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes as corrected?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Next item is a special use permit 23-04, the Moody Building New Hotel. And let Kevin take us into that.
Be glad to. Thank y'all for being here tonight. This special use permit is 2023-04 for the Moody Building Hotel. John Winkler is requesting this special use permit to demolish the Moody Building at 125 Sunset Drive and construct an 18-room hotel. Property is 0.45 acres and is zoned central business. This property is, I believe it's still represented by two properties. It's not being combined together. But if it is not, it would need to be combined as through the project. It is in the water supply watershed as well. This aerial shows the building that it currently, in the parking lot, the way it's currently laid out. And as I mentioned, the plan is to demolish the old Moody's Furniture Warehouse and construct a 18-room hotel in its place. Parking lot would remain as it currently is with some minor curb modifications. The applicant plans to remove the dumpster pad and screening in this area here. And the garbage collection would be in a couple of rollout containers that would be enclosed, much like a dumpster, but much smaller. The front of the building, I've shown you the aerial, let me move over to a view of the site plan. So at the very front, shows that the front of the building will encroach into the 15-foot setback for no more than 50% of the building, but the remainder will be back approximately 18 to 20 feet, depending on where it is along the building, because the sidewalk is a little bit angled to the way the site lays. And but you can see where the building would come up to the 10-foot line here and then go back. The current building, here's the edge of the sidewalk. Move that up a little bit. The current building is up in this area right here. Okay, fairly close to the sidewalk, and they're going to push this back. But the ordinance allows you to bring part of it forward as long as you push the other part back and replace that lost green space into somewhere on the front third of the lot. The hotel requires 18 parking spaces. There are 27 existing spaces, and with some reconfiguration, there'll be 26 for the proposed hotel, and some spaces reserved in that number for, I believe, and John can answer this as we move forward, for Mr. Lover, for his interests with the NICO building, parking for the NICO building employees, and then for the residential components he has over top of Final Touches, the two apartments that he rents short term. I think it's 6 spaces reserved for him, 26 overall, then would have 2 additional free spaces. In the back of the, go back to on this aerial, you can see, and y'all probably been down there, but on the back side of the Maple Street parking lot is where Bob Lovren had a space cut in that was part of the, he had 3 spaces that were required of him with his conditional use permit when he had it approved for this project. He built the parking lot, access into off of Sunset eliminated 3 spaces. And at the time, the council said, we want you to reserve those on your property in some way or fashion. So 2 of them were within the parking area, and then 1 was cut in from Maple Street. Mr. Winkler's plan is to eliminate this one and put that back into green space and a place for his hotel guests to enjoy, a courtyard or a planted area or a place for relaxation. And does not want to continue that obligation for the other 2 public spaces. So I want to point out that difference from what was approved to what he is proposing to do. Let me go to a little more detail on the site plan on some of the changes that are proposed. This is a good plan that shows on the left side the existing building, the patio, the grass area here, and all the landscaping. And then this is what's proposed with the building footprint. The additional landscaping in the front, but some of this in the back is lost to building this grass area that was in the back. Pretty much everything down the side stays the same. This is a little bit added here, and then a little bit of addition to eliminate that dumpster pad and parking area for this additional green space. So to the next step on stormwater management, the detention that was proposed for the Moody project, that's all been put in, all installed. When the parking lot was built, they did that, and it's all down in here before it leaves and goes out to Sunset Drive. It's detained. Jason, you did the design on that, right? So Jason could answer any questions on specifics on stormwater management. But with this plan, there's a reduction in impervious surfaces. So the detention will handle what's coming off the parking lot in the building. And there's more pervious areas with this proposed project. Landscaping, most of it is already done, but there's going to be some modifications. Everything that's been placed around the building as they can demo and construct, that'll be lost and have to be replanted. But some of this that's along these perimeters, it will be either intact or enhanced or modified. And as we get into details, would meet our ordinance for the landscaping that's required. I think I've got both. So this is the front of the building. Showing it at a 30-foot peak. It's not really a full peak. It goes up to a platform that John could house some HVAC units up in the top. They could continue that roof line and would be closer to 33 feet if it peaks out a full peak layout. There is a little recess in the entryway. As you can see, the building steps back. And I'll just go ahead and show you the rendering that they brought to me just a few minutes ago. This is from the lower corner, and I'll pass it around so you can take a look at it. This would be looking from Sunset out across it, and the variations in the gables and the decking. So if y'all want to pass that down, take a look at what they're proposing with that. This is the east side that you're looking at in that rendering. And I'll pull up the west side just a moment.
Yes, they did, yes.
So this is the west side facing the back of the Nico building on top. And then the rear of the building, and I've made some suggestions to Brent Davis, his architect, about adding over the back of this, some type of a entryway or canopy or something to add some depth and some character to the back, and possibly a window on some elevation on that backside, just to give it a little bit of character on the back. In your packet, you had the landscape plans, site plans, these architectural elevations, and I'm sure you've looked over all those site photos, what it looks like today. We're familiar with it. Everybody's sure and seen what's there. It's a great location, but nothing ever came of it. And so Mr. Winkler's looking to purchase this and develop this for a hotel. So I'll be glad to answer questions at this time, and Mr. Winkler and his engineer, Jeff Gaston, are here to fill in the holes, because I'm sure there may be some.
I got a little confused, like I always do. The two spaces that he doesn't want to worry about that were given to the last guy, what are those two spaces? Are they from coming off Sunset that we lost 3?
Yes.
Doesn't want to be responsible for that.
Yes.
But if he was to buy it, if he was pre-loving and wanted to put the driveway in, he'd certainly be responsible for those spaces, right?
That's ultimately a council decision whether they want to keep that burden on this development or
Gotcha.
do away with it. And you can see, this was a shot that's current, a view of that site today. And if you go on Google Earth, you can see how it transformed when we did the sunset improvements. It was restriped in such a way, but you can still ultimately go back. There were 3 lost in front of the building in that area. But there's also a gain. There were no parking spaces. And as a result of the project, there an overall gain of 24 additional spaces in the area. Yes, it does serve a use there, but there's spaces that are for off-site use too. Nico employees and the rental units he has, that Mr. Lovren has over top of Final Touches.
Understand.
So there's a benefit overall. It's whether or not planning board as a recommendation wants to keep that as a requirement, and ultimately to council as they decide on the project. Did that answer in a long way what your question was?
And a roundabout, I'm there.
Okay, well, I'm good at that.
You're good, you're good.
Mostly, I mean, could you expand on one element of that, the 3 spaces, whatever the council approved for the prior approval? What was the form of those spaces that they had? They didn't have to be available to the public, or what came with those spaces that had to be provided? Anything or nothing in terms of this?
Public spaces that were available to the public on his property.
Practically, because the building's been empty, everybody's been parking there, right? So it would be 24 spaces.
I haven't noticed.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone, all visitors have.
Yeah, and it wasn't long ago, Mr. Lovin wanted to put a barricade.
Sure.
And understandable, it's his
Sure.
property, and do what he
Sure.
wants, and reserve spaces for his tenants. But he also did not do that. But yes, it's been used. It's
But
like all
those-
these cars that were taken when this picture was made. I'm sure not all of them are employees of the Nico building.
So when you turn into that parking lot now, I think there are like the first 3 or 4 spaces. that have signs
Yes.
on them. And are you speaking to those? Those are the owner's spaces that he's allotted for those businesses.
Yes.
And this will take that away.
No.
Okay.
And John could explain more, but he's indicated to me that he has an obligation to reserve up to 6 spaces for Mr. Lovren. Yes.
Okay.
And so that scenario will likely stay the same, maybe a different type of signage. But being this private property, they can choose to limit, hey, this is parking for this place. And then the rest could be, you could put signs on the rest of them. This is for hotel use, whatever the name of the hotel is.
Those 6 may not necessarily be where they are now. They
No,
may be somewhere else.
That's right. They could be anywhere on the site. The ADA spaces could not be changed. They're for the hotel use. Let me go to that site plan. That might be helpful for us.
So the ramp will stay.
The ramp would, no, the ramp, that's all changed. There's building over that part now, and the ramp up the side is gone. This has changed, that there would be 2 handicap spaces sharing an aisle and will come into the back of the building basically at grade, right, Jason? Correct. And so the back entrance is ADA accessible, and the front is too, off the sidewalk. Yeah. Both accessible. This space is here from the Sunset sidewalk, about 2%.
Sunset's a little bit steeper, it's like, I think it's 3.5 to 4, somewhere in there.
From Sunset or the Sunset itself?
Well, we have to go down a little bit from Sunset and up, so it make it a little steeper.
Okay. But meets ADA
Yes.
accessibility.
Any conditions that staff recommends as a part of the permit?
No, nothing specific. There is, if you look at the elevations, if y'all know the code, there's a minimum slope of 6 and 12. The way this worked out to fit everything is 5.5 to 12. If you're okay with that and the way that it looks. I stress to anyone that comes in the door with a project, the way that it looks and blends in together has always been critical in Blowing Rock. The use, not necessarily as important as what does the structure look like. Does it keep in character with the charm for downtown? And I think they've done that. This is not the first revision. Brent probably did 2 or 3 from when we got started. And I think this is by far better than the first one.
And as long as you have 2 textures, that's always required.
I think it says not more than 3.
More than 3.
Not more than 3, but
So on this one, we've got cultured stone, and then we've got our, the corbels and the board and batten. So our 3 textures.
yes. You also have metal railing. I mean, that's an amenity. That could be wood too, but it gives a little bit different feel, a little bit more formal aspect. But then a rustic part with the Douglas fir columns, that I think is the same thing they did on the Getaway. And there was a part of that on the Manor Hotel.
Any comments from the applicant?
Any questions, yes, sir? Do we have to be sworn in?
No. Speak freely.
He's covered everything on my end.
I don't want to steal your thunder, Jason.
You already did.
If I hit something wrong, let me know.
The rendering is closer to the actual, what the thing will look like. The architect, we're not gonna have any post coming down from the decks. It'll just be the corbels that support the decks and stuff. And this was, I think that's a better looking building. See, he's showing posts right here. And so we just put corbels, see, he was showing posts all the way to the ground, and I didn't want to.
Right here.
Change it to corbels, we're getting rid of a few windows up here. We met the town, standard here, but we thought we're gonna do away with some of those windows on top and make it look more like this. So, on the back, it looks so plain where the back door is. We haven't figured out our interior, exactly where the elevator's gonna go, and we're gonna put some windows in there to help dress up the back a little bit too. That looks pretty plain right there. And the vendor guy didn't have time to put together a rear end part of it, but we are gonna dress it up back there. That is the handicap entrance back there where the parking is. And I'm not sure where the windows will go yet, so we'll get a little further down the road.
So as a recommendation from this body, some things you can consider that are added to the renderings or the elevations can be accomplished and then forwarded to council if you feel like you want to move forward with the project. So that the elevations will reflect the rendering much more closely. If there's going to be windows taken out, then we want to reflect what the latest is. If you feel comfortable with that, that can be a recommendation that we handle that at staff level before it gets to council.
I just had one question, additional on the parking.
Yes, sir.
And this is, given how contentious parking has become to a certain extent, I'm just wondering if you as the business owner or the operator of the hotel had or would consider perhaps gating that to just allow access to the Nico people and your guests versus having anybody coming into town due to the proximity to Main Street pulling in. And
I think the only thing about the gating would take up one parking place, one more parking place. We have 2 extra.
Okay.
We're required to have 24. Mr. Lovren required to occupy the property. He required 6 to take care of his other buildings. So we have 26, we're required to have 24. And we have 2 extra. And we don't have the logistics work out. This may not work out anyway, but the other 2 hotels we have, the parking lots are practically empty Monday through Thursday.
Okay.
And if there's some way to work out logistics that might complement the downtown, especially this lot that might complement downtown, it might be a great opportunity to do that. But it would have to be a moneymaker for me.
Yeah.
But it would be maybe an opportunity for the Blowing Rock to have some extra spaces during those days. Or I'm not really sure how we would patrol it, but I'm sure it could be done. Just needs a lot more thought put into it. But and the reason, I'll get Kevin explain to you the reason we're taking out that parking place in the back. It's ridiculous the way it is now. I mean, it's really, and if we can make a beautiful little park down there out of that and make a nice area. But we do want to do this. Does it matter if I talk about the gate? I'm going to try to put a fence, and especially on Mr. Lovern's side, there's a right of way on the south side up there, and I'm going to put a fence to protect my people.
You're talking about this right here, John?
Yeah, when they're sitting on their patios and decks.
Right.
I'm going to kind of, because there's going to be, if that other guy ever develops that other lot, if he uses that road, then, there'll be dust and stuff coming in on my building, so I'd like to, that's not shown on the site plan, but we talked to Kevin a little bit about it and how to protect our.
Well, probably right here, you're talking about this.
Yes, sir.
This,
Retaining wall.
yeah, on top of that.
Yeah.
Having having a fence on top of it.
Yeah.
Guard, landscape wall with guard mounted.
Just,
What's that mean?
yeah, absolutely. Just put
Fence.
a fence.
A guard is a technical word for fence, it has to be 42 inches tall.
Okay.
So,
But we want to make it an upscale hotel and make it, we think that there's probably not a better location in western North Carolina other than Asheville than that lot right there, I don't think. I think it's even better than the big one they're building on the corner because they just walk right out the door to anything uptown. And of course, that's a matter of opinion, but I'm open to any questions you might have. And the reason we're trying to keep the colors almost identical to our other hotels, so just maintenance. My painter will have to go buy the one color paint, so, you know, and we're using black metal handrails like we did the others, and they look good, and they hold up, and, just trying to make some common sense decisions.
Greg, from a practical standpoint of having a gate for a two-way access is rather difficult because you got to be on the left side to punch a code in, and then you got traffic coming out. And so,
And when they swing open, they take up so much room and space. I mean, I thought about that. If we didn't have to give Mr. Loveburn his places, I would have put gates right up the street. But you gotta be careful, you gotta have enough room for people to get off the street, you don't want to block Sunset up.
Right. People turning in or
That's right.
trying to turn left into it.
Right. And it's only about 4 or 5 car lengths up to the red light, so there's that many cars there almost all the time.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking more in terms of the gate that maybe slid back and forth. Yeah.
Do you foresee any deliveries during the week, like linens, that sort of thing, food, any of that, that would require loading and unloading?
I'm sorry.
Do you foresee any deliveries during the week of linens or food or anything like that that requires loading and unloading?
We don't have any.
You don't have anything like that? Okay.
FedEx might bring us something every now and
Okay.
then. We don't. I tell you, the guy that brings the laundry, that'd be, he
Okay.
come once a week.
That's fine.
That's about it. But they would, well, like to pull in the parking lot.
The linens would be a small truck.
It would be, okay.
Well,
It's a small truck and no FedEx deliveries generally.
can't think of anything else.
Is there any historic significance of the building that's there now? Nothing that we would need to worry about there?
No.
And then what about abatement? Any abatement issues with that demolition of it?
It'll be covered by the demolition company. If DH Griffin or someone like that, they'll just
Okay.
get a building permit and there probably is, but there's not a whole lot to that building. It's kind of a shell. And there's been work done on it in the last, since 2015. There's been new posts put under it, foundation posts, and then there's some things, a little bit stuff internal, and then there's new doors put in, roof. But to demo, the demolition company will be responsible for the asbestos abatement.
Sure.
And the reason we located the new building, basically where this one is, you have very little grading. You don't have a lot of trucks coming in and out. You have about maybe a week worth of demolition and grading, and then you're done with all that traffic. I mean, you'll have lumber trucks coming in, but nothing like hauling dirt in and gravel in and all that. We just leave the parking lot like it is. We are going to tear up a few places of the parking lot, but we'll wait till the very end and fix that. And so we won't have mud out in the road and all that stuff. So I think it'll be a much better scenario for the town, especially because that is so tight right there. When you have all that construction coming in and out, man, you just don't want that. You want to limit all that you can.
Logistically, and I don't know whose question this is, but that, on that point, construction, is it going to close the sidewalk?
No.
Okay.
the sidewalk will remain open, pretty much all Sunset will be left undisturbed, including the sidewalk through there. There'll be people having to, obviously, construction equipment moving in the entrance, but no closure to the sidewalk. The only time it might be closed is when they cut in the utilities for the water and sewer, which you can kind of see that's what the dashed out area is there. But you're talking for, a day or so because the water and sewer cuts are together.
Some of it's already done.
Some,
That was done with Bob, a lot of it was done with Bob's already.
So it's gotta be upgraded.
Sam told me he's already got the water there, and maybe the sewer, he was gonna check that for me.
Yeah. If there's a situation where the sidewalk has to be closed, we can reserve those parking spaces out front for people, for pedestrians to pass around the site.
Yeah, I mean, I think temporary is fine, just obviously some construction has resulted in longer-term closures of streets and other things, and this would not be a good place for that, that's all for sure.
Yeah.
And we're putting some plants out there, it's about the only altercation, gonna have after we tear it down. And pouring a little concrete for the sidewalk.
Where will you put your signage so we know what the name of the building? Where will that
I'm having a hard time, you're leaving.
Sorry.
I can't hear.
go? No, where do you propose putting signage for the building? Are you gonna do like something in the grass, like a monument, or what are
Where we
you?
gonna put a sign, is it?
Yeah.
We don't know.
Don't know that.
Wherever y'all want us to, it doesn't matter.
Okay,
We hadn't even gotten that far. I'm not sure what's required there.
That's usually a staff level.
Okay.
Signage is
you
handled
don't
by
have to worry
staff.
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get mad at him.
Well, Taylor.
Right.
Brian.
Let him take a little heat.
But it'd be something like we have our two signs at the manor and then the getaway, be very similar to those. I really can't think of any surprises I think it's gonna be a low, as far as construction goes, a very low key job compared to other sites.
I know this is a hard question to answer, but how long do you think the development would take?
Oh, I've got two other hotels going in Boone. More than likely, I'll close on this property in the next 2 or 3 weeks and I'll just take my time. I'm gonna finish my plans. It's gonna take another, if we get through here to get all this other stuff done, we're probably talking about 2 or 3 more months, aren't we?
Yeah.
So it'll just sit there and, I may try to salvage some of that old wood out of the old building and try to, I love to use it for accent walls and hotel rooms and stuff like that. I may try to do that, but, it'd probably be early fall before we really, but won't take any time to get the foundation ready to go. And we'll pour foundation, just get it ready. When the plumbers get ready, we'll pour the slab, and it probably won't. I'd love to get it finished by next September. It may be earlier, maybe a little later, but I'd love to have it finished by leaf season. But it won't be a lot of reason. It could be finished a lot faster, but I got so many other things going on, it's hard to get anybody doing their thing.
September 24, finished by September 24.
Oh, yeah, easy. And, it could be finished in 6 months pretty easy, but I don't know. I've got to get all this other mess done. I'm getting too old. But, I think it'll be a great addition, to Blowing Rock. We looked at the idea of putting restaurants there, but the land is so expensive. Restaurants can't pay that kind of rent. I'd have to get, I think, about $18,000 a month out of the restaurant. I wouldn't even get anything out of it. And you got to figure out what you can get in return. And it sure wasn't a restaurant or any kind of retail. So this is the only thing I can come up with. And we're really enjoying our hotels. We really have. They've been more successful than I ever thought they would be, and we're having a great time with them. Good. Hopefully they've been a good addition to Blowing Rock.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We entertain a motion on the special use permit. And we move forward.
Just, I mean, a comment with the motion, I guess. I do think, I think this is a great project and a great location, so to put that out of the way. The north face of the building, where the ADA spaces are, that needs something. That's a very visible, like that's, you can see it from the town parking lot. I mean, that's a super visible side of the building. So I do think that whatever motion is made ought to include, just that we're going to update this to.
Recommend some windows
Yeah.
or treatments on the back side.
Absolutely.
Canopy over the door.
Just, it's a highly visible side of the building. So somebody was starting to make a motion and I interrupted.
Greg, make a motion.
Definitely make that included, yeah.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor of the motion with the recommendations? Indicate. Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none? So moved.
Who made a second?
Tom?
I do.
Any other business?
No, I was going to give you a quick update on the.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Jason, Nathan. Don't forget you back here. Comp plan, subcommittee meeting next Wednesday, the 24th. In here, I believe, I can send it to you. Thank you, John. At 1 o'clock.
Is that 2 hours? Is that right?
I think I have three blocked
okay.
off.
Okay, that's
But
fine.
maybe it will be 2.
Okay.
It's Chris, Kat, you, middle 4, Tom, and Bill, okay. As we've combined our 2 committees.
People also.
Yeah, David and Doug, I believe.
Yeah. Right.
And then Steve Cohen, Sue, Glenn. Might be somebody else, I'm sorry.
It seems like there's another gentleman in that group.
Steve?
Maybe.
That might be. I did not bring that folder. But, and then we'll say we're looking at a public drop-in session. I'll go ahead and give you that date for everybody. It's going to be a day-long event, June 19th at the American Legion from 12 to 7. So it'll be all afternoon. We're shooting for that for a public workshop at the American Legion. And I'll send information to all of you, not just the subcommittee, but to everyone that wants to come in for that, okay?
Okay.
You said the 19th?
I'm sorry?
You said the 19th?
Yes,
It's a Monday.
June 19th, Juneteenth, I believe is what they call it now. Any updates you want to know about?
Sunset, 321, that corner. Like you said last time, that, I mean, I drive by 10 times a week. It's just getting to be a little on the unsightly side. I just wonder.
Notice that, yeah, it was accented more when estate maintenance mowed the right of way and they left the grass. I want to go mow it so bad, but I can't. I'm not going to. We'll make a note of that. We call the new owner and get him on. I know Britt took care of his on the old lot, mowed that up.
But
Well, no mow May, like boom, we're gonna let it all go to seed. Now, I'm wanting to know when they mow in June, they're gonna have to mow it high or they're gonna burn it down and it's gonna mess the grass up. Because where you're supposed to cut is gonna go up higher. Brian's gonna straighten them out, call them up, and see what they're doing. It's a good, I understand the concept. I hope they mow at least one deck width off the edge of the greenway, because that's gonna be pretty snaky. There's enough snakes out there now.
So, what are the plans for the Citgo gas station?
It is gonna be, did we get an application yesterday? I'll still tell you. It's gonna be a convenient,
We got it today.
We got it today.
the zoning.
so it's gonna be Mark Hickman's not gonna be there anymore. No vehicle service, no inspections, no towing out of that location. You'll still be able to get gas, and they're gonna have convenience, food and items like that. But they'll have some upgrades that they need to make for ADA
So they're gonna try to do a Scotchman across the street.
with
What
gas.
Scotchman used to.
Yeah. Still gonna be called the station or something like that. And it's gonna be Exxon.
Okay.
New strain of gas in there. She will keep the ethanol free, thankfully. But
Somebody else.
that's what's going in there. And Kim will not be running. She's gonna be leasing.
How about Foggy Rock?
Look, y'all, go get you a Philly. The clock's ticking.
Yeah, it is.
Get you some wings if you like them.
They possibly said June was when the new restaurant would be going in.
What's it called?
Mexican Rock.
Mexican.
Really? Town needs Mexican.
She said they have margaritas, so.
We just need one.
Yeah. That's a hard one. If you're going to a place that you know, like, I can get something on that menu, different every time, it's gonna be high quality.
That's right.
It's hard to lose something like that.
I know.
I think Bert's just getting tired. It's a lot of work.
He's keeping Myers though.
Yeah,
Myers and
the little place, the old Sunny Rock.
Next door, Sunny Rock.
I just open Sunny Rock back up and get rid of the other place and let someone else. There's no better place.
I
Yeah.
know it. We're breathing over that.
Any rumblings about where the outlets are now?
Gosh, a lot of people ask me about that, and I haven't spoken with them again in a couple of months, but they talked about some different possibilities out there. Maybe some residential, some additional restaurants and some lodging.
Where is this?
Got the shops and
Shops on
Parkway.
Parkway.
Oh,
Any other activity on that lot on the corner of 321 and, is that Ransom? That was sold, that lot? There was, I know there's.
Where there was supposed to be a new hotel.
Yeah, I knew there was an inquiry, but
Pete's not still in here? I have not heard anything since probably October.
okay.
I'll tell you, they brought in a hotel, first design. It was a 96-foot tall brick rectangle. This guy was from East Texas. And I emailed him back and I said, and he was the architect, not the owner. And I said, man, get them to fly you up here and come visit. And I sent him some pictures of some stuff around here. I said, brick ain't gonna work. We did away with that. And your building's too tall. And he worked on it some and started coming around. I'm still not satisfied with it, but that was October. I have not heard of Pete. Interesting. It could be the current economic. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't remember the guy who bought it. But not anything since then, and I didn't speak with the guy, with Gordon Lovingood, and he's ready to submit something. He told me the same thing 2 years ago. I'm ready to submit some plans, but hopefully he's getting closer to doing something.
Now, is that the property on Main Street?
Yeah, the 7 acre piece. Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's really all that's going. I mean, maybe something on the corner of Possum Hall. Waiting to hear back on that.
Is this the appropriate forum to follow up 2 months ago with the short-term rental thing that we listened to and then went to council and then got pulled from council, but up there on Main Street? I
Sure.
guess got administrative approval?
They did.
Can you explain what happened with that?
They provided me and the town attorney with information showing that they had rented that and used that property for short-term rental and had been for quite some time, and prior to our ordinance being updated. Knowing the history of properties like that, the Myers case up on Norwood Circle, that fell along the same lines of use. Now, what happened with the Myers case, they had been using that since the 60s probably for family. And it sold in 2016, I think, or maybe later. Maybe it was later, 2018. And then it was being used by other people repeatedly. And then the neighbors, oh, what's going on here? Well, the way that our ordinance for short-term rental was defined by use. The Superior Court judge said that your definition allows them to do what they want to do.
Because they had been doing it since the 60s.
They had been doing it, and the term use meant if you use it, you own it, you use it, that's short-term rental because of the term use. So we changed our ordinance last year, March, I believe, to clarify and correct the definition of short-term rental. And in testimony of that case that came before you about the Derrick property, they've been using it for short-term rental all these years. We're fine with it.
That's why he bought it, because he had rented it in the past.
Yeah. And so it was in testimony. I didn't know. I didn't live up there. And it's down below the road, and hardly anybody knows unless you live there that they had in fact been using it. So they provided substantial evidence that showed that it had been used. And so as a result, it's grandfathered in.
Because he had purchased the property prior to March of last year?
Not because he purchased it, because it had been used.
Okay. So that update, so the update that was done last year really doesn't affect anything except for new use of property.
Yes.
Are there any limitations on what he can do there? I mean, in terms of either tearing it down and building something bigger and better, or?
Yes, there are. So there's a couple parameters that limit. I think it's 5 bedrooms, their own septic. That's one limitation. But they could hook the sewer with some. There's a pump system that could be done. But to expand the non-conforming use into more square footage into that structure, no, it's not conforming. You have 3 units. Could not add bedrooms. That's true. Could not add bedrooms because it's not conforming. You could tear it down and build it back, not larger.
Okay. You have to use the same footprint, or?
Not necessarily the same footprint.
Or height.
The footprint would be if it was too close to the setback and you wanted to keep that in that location, yes, you could build back the same footprint. But if you built it in such a way that met the applicable setbacks and off the streets, no problem. but could not be a larger structure.
Or higher necessarily. I mean,
As long as, well, could not be larger as far as gross square footage. If it could be taller and still meet the height requirement of 35 feet, yes. You know, if it's not 35, it's 30 and they want to go 35, as long as the gross square footage is not increased. There's no allowance for the expansion of a non-conforming use. Just like the Wheelies. If they wanted to expand the deck, they could only do so by making another part of the building smaller. You know, could not expand the use under the size of the building, the square footage that's there.
So I'm sorry, to go back to kind of the original, then, the administrative approval just for that use, it wasn't saying that it had the short-term rental overlay. So
No, not an overlay.
So the zoning has all stayed the same, it's just,
Yes, overlay, yes, the zoning stays the same. They have a they have a grandfathered non-conforming use.
gotcha.
If that ceases without the intention to, like, let's say we're gonna tear it down, we're gonna build it back, we wanna do short-term rental, you don't lose that vested right.
Right.
If they don't use it, it just sits for 180 days with no intention of changing or building or anything, then they can lose that non-conforming right. And it goes away forever.
Makes a ton of sense, thank you. Just,
Some question about that 180-day period when he bought it and when he came to us, that
Buying it really doesn't change. It's what type of use was on the property, whether it was the old owners and they used it and you showed evidence of that. I don't know that he bought it until December.
Yeah.
It was the use really prior to that and on beyond that you provide evidence.
So there
that,
wasn't
hey,
180 days after he bought it that he didn't use it as short term, that he lost that.
Right, it's not after he bought it. It's the use of the property, no matter who the owner is.
Yeah. And that's tough to enforce for any of them. When somebody's got to complain, basically, that 180 days is lapsed, and then you've got to go back and try to document it.
It would have to be based, again, reliance on the neighbors and what they've seen happen there. There was an old building that was torn down there, but on the lot beside. And maybe they did at some point. I don't remember. But that being not directly visible, you don't see it. If someone stayed down there, it would be hard to tell.
the neighbors that were here that night in March, how did they accept that? Or maybe it's February.
I sent them notice of the letter that I sent them. Not pleased. But they had a period, once they were given notice, they had an appeal period of 30 days. That's since passed.
thank you.
The optics there were not the best.
I second.
Okay. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all bunch.
We adjourned? All right.